Hey everybody, Matt Michaels, Sin City Steve, and Rob Bustler here on the Vegas Badboyz of Podcasting. DJ Impact is out on a boat, and he's on a boat. He's on a boat. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, think he has a dick in a box.
Oh, okay. Wait a
Just
minute.
saying.
You just went right for the jugular. There was no subtlety there. No kayfabe.
No.
No, this is just
Yeah, it's
okay.
just fact, just truth, right? Um, uh,
Jesus Christ.
so,
Oh God.
usually we do. Three count where we do three topics. But this week we had a event for AEW Full Gear 2023, and we gonna talk a little bit about this show. First off, let's talk about um, the idea of having it in Los Angeles. Um, I know the crowd was a bigger crowd for them, which is a good sign.
Looked like a fuller house.
Uh, well,
They said
yeah,
it was the capacity. It looked decent. Didn't look like
Yeah,
their other shows.
yeah,
and
it was 13,000.
right, and
Nice. Okay, guys. All right, I'm giving them applause for that. That's baby steps, getting back in the right direction.
yeah, I mean, and it definitely was a fuller house. You could see Kimmy Gibbler was all grown up on that one. So,
Oh, Jesus
uh,
Christ.
but of course, it's a combination of selling tickets and also offering, two for ones or discounts or giving tickets away. So,
Or
uh,
bumps.
yeah,
It is Tony Khan.
well, you know, uh, but the idea of Full Gear, being in LA, especially with having the other shows, taping as well. Um, it's a question that I wonder when you have the pay per view in the city now. I think when they started, there was more excitement around the product. Now you're looking at it and you're kind of going, should the television tapings be farther away from the pay per view city? I think that's a legitimate question. You know, even Ontario, they had a hard time getting people into Ontario. So,
It puts more pressure on them to have to fill out that room and then to have the disappointment as a guy watching at home going, you've only got half a room.
right,
And I can see you're struggling to tape a match now because you can't even get good spots because you don't want to catch a spot and the entire back row is empty.
right, right. And they already have troubles with catching spots. They're camera guys, a lot of times things get missed. And if you're also worrying about that, it's tough. Um, the question is, why not run San Diego? Why not run, somewhere that's a little,
The Orleans is a 10,000 seating room. And I think they would have a problem with that because some of their local venues or their weekly tapings are only getting 4,000. So you got to go TNA rooms. You got to basically, the kind of rooms that TNA is using for their pay-per-views is what AEW should be using for their weekly shows, the 5,000 seat arenas, the smaller arenas for where the Silver Knights play in Henderson, which is probably like 5,000 or 7,000 would be a good venue. Yeah. And, then you could say, hey, we're in Las Vegas in Henderson, adjacent to and you can still stay face.
Right, exactly. Travis chimed in here. They have issues doing spots. If you want to elaborate that a little bit more, Travis, go ahead. And we can kind of talk about that.
There's been a few botches lately on some more of the technical spots where people are just missing their marks, and maybe the chemistry between the two people in the ring are just not good.
Well, that's and that's a big question too. Is how hard is it to get the chemistry gelling when a lot of these guys now have been working together for a while? You know what I'm saying? Like, at
I
this
can
point,
see that, but the one thing that AEW does, which is shit, is you'll establish a feud between Matt Michaels and Sin City Steve, and then on week 2 of the feud, Matt Michaels is going to going to attack Rob Bossolari, and we're going to have a match, and then Sin City Steve's going to interrupt at the end of that match. Well, now, if you two were the ones who were supposed to be feuding, the technical aspect of it is that's your partner in the ring. You've been working to battle him. Now I'm interrupting that. So you don't have that chemistry with me because you're not training with me. You're not doing spots with me. You're not going in the ring and doing any pre-work. So in paper, hey, I'm going to do a Hurricane Rana. Okay, we're doing the Hurricane Rana. Okay, we're locking up. We're going to lock up, and then I'm going to do the Hurricane Rana. All right, well, you've been training and expecting to fight Sin City Steve or vice versa. Now you're fighting me, and I'm 5'7". It's a whole different game now, and they've given you 1 day's notice. How can you have a good, safe match and also hit all your spots if you're just doing these random matches here and there? I'm asking as a casual who got to do a couple of months worth of training and watch how they do that, how they call spots. Hey, when are you going to call the spot? The lockup? When are you going to do it? When you're in a head scissors? Are you going to call out a spot? Are you going to have a ring valet? Paul Heyman was calling the spots for Brock Lesnar all the time. Brock, hit him with this. Well, he was actually calling the spots there. So if you're doing all of these impromptu matches with a couple of days notice, there's no fucking way in hell you're going to have clean matches. That's just me.
well, and Travis makes the point here: no performance center or no house shows is the reason for these botches, which is absolutely true in the sense that,
Absolutely.
yeah, and you don't on top of the botches, you don't get to work on character,
Right.
So there is an upside to house shows that is
Work out the
unbelievable.
kinks.
Yeah, and you get to try new things, new spots. You get to work on timing, and the performance center is a big deal. I still don't understand why Tony hasn't done something like that. He
Completely
has,
agreed.
yeah.
So they're not even doing a training type center.
No,
If
nothing.
if they were smart, then they would sign some sort of a deal with Defy or even FSW or some top tier indie promotion and essentially use that indie promotion as a feeder and as a training center.
So in other words, their
I don't
attitude
get it.
is all of these guys are professionals, and if somebody new comes in, the older guys will just kind of show them the ropes on the road as they go along. Is that the idea?
Well, you know what? I don't even think that's the idea because, quite honestly, um, the problem they're having is that the young guys are not listening to the old guys. So, it comes down to it's the old. Yeah, and this is true too. Travis says QT
Yep.
is the top guy at Nightmare Factory. Why is that not their training center? And it should have been their training center.
Should have been.
It was something that they basically were almost pushing as their performance center, their training center. But they also have the fucking facility in Jacksonville. Why not build that up and make that a center? Um, but that's the thing.
Even TNA has a training center. They kind of showed you a few times that Johnny Bravo
Yeah.
is their TNA trainer, their Impact Wrestling trainer, and they've shown some videos of him doing, going through and showing which guys, yeah, that's
Well,
interesting.
and that's the thing. The whole thing is that when you have when you don't have someone in control who can lay down a this needs to be done, or else you're getting punished. You have to have authority when you're the owner. You can't just be a best friend. Um, and even when you are a best friend, the best friends don't get enough TV time. So go figure. But that's the thing, is you can build these guys up. They can learn. Steve, you brought up on Wrestling Talk Darby and his body and the stuff he puts it through. So my problem with a guy like that is you're a stuntman at that point. Now Mick Foley, you could argue, well, he did that his whole career, but Mick Foley was a trained wrestler who, if you go back and you watch matches, especially earlier in his career, he was doing what you do as a wrestler. And I think that, guys like Darby would benefit from having the extra work. The question is, would they want to put in the extra work, especially when you're getting that kind of money? It's you going, well, wait a minute, I'm a star. Why the fuck do I need to train? So,
But
and
also,
now,
you just said it, the kind of money. If I'm
Yeah.
making $250,000, well, I don't know what he's getting paid. Let's say it's some ridiculously good check that none of us would be able to earn in 10 years.
Yeah.
He's going to go, wow, I'm getting this money now and I'll deal with it later.
Right.
And I'll be famous and somebody will want me to do something else, or I'll be put in the back somewhere and then I'll have a job for life.
Yeah. And that's it's something that's interesting, because the other question is, and I think we have kind of said, listen, when older talent goes away for a while, who are you going to develop? Who are you going to make your next stars? And if you look at what you had on Full Gear, man, there was a lot of older talent, but a lot of the younger talent is kind of stuck in this weird place. You you you, you have
Everybody from the Jericho Appreciation Society is gone, and they're back to where they were before. They're all floundering below mid card.
Yep.
None of them have title opportunities except for
Right.
Garcia, and even his title opportunity is just mentioned by him. We have no idea that he's actually going to get any type of title push, and
Yeah.
he's a mid card talent at best. He should be a Ring of Honor.
Right. And that's a big point here. And Travis makes this point. If your NFL team has to train 4 days a week, then your wrestling talent should be doing the same thing. And I think you just hit upon exactly what they have that should be utilized for that. And that is
Yep.
ROH. This is a product that you bought, and it clearly now shows the only reason you have this product is because you took it. You didn't want WWE to get it, put it with their
That's it.
library, and
Mhm.
you want it to, make it a selling point for a streaming package. But at the same time,
You gotta use it.
yeah,
It done
exactly.
nothing.
Like Ronda Rousey was on there. I didn't even know until I heard it and busted open that Ronda Rousey was on Ring of Honor, and I went, what?
Yep.
What the hell was she doing on Ring of Honor? Why would you not bring? Oh, she's friends with Marina Shafir, so we put her on Ring of Honor and gave her a
Well,
spot.
Well, I mean, that's a one-off. So
But still,
right. And she wrestled the night before with Marina in LA,
Yep.
and probably wrestled on that independent show to a bigger crowd than watched ROH getting taped, because everyone was gone. You look at the fucking video and it's just amazing.
hold on, Matt.
to see.
Here's something you don't understand. See, ROH was taped so long ago. This was actually taped during 2020. So all of these matches were done because of COVID lockdown protocols, which is why it looks like that.
Well, maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe that fans just, when ROH starts, they realize, I've been here for 6 hours already. I might catch COVID, so I think I better go. But it really does beg, so this becomes the problem, and that is the talent that you should be showcasing on ROH. You should be doing it to get them reps, to get them practice, to get them developed. But also, you have a hard time selling it to your audience that would keep them there because you have no coherent stories going on.
I've watched it a couple of times and I couldn't follow what was happening. It was a bunch of people that I'd never seen before, never heard of them, and I wasn't invested in what they were doing. But wasn't also that the point of Dark and Elevation was we're going to have these guys, and if they get over in Dark and Elevation, if they get some traction, we'll put them out there. That's how we got Sky Blue, was from Dark and Elevation, and she got some traction. But they talk about Athena as an afterthought. Amber Moon was fucking great, and she became an afterthought, and they never knew what to do with her, so they just put her on Ring of Honor.
Well,
throw her in the closet.
But the problem with that is exactly that, and that is you have a good wrestler who is essentially doing this so that they can develop other women. That's why she's the champ.
But she's too young herself to be putting other people over like that, I feel.
Well, she's not putting other people over. She is the champion.
Yeah.
There's no coherent show for her to be.
That title has dust on it.
Exactly. All those titles have dust on them.
Yeah.
The only one that the championship itself has dust on it, whereas now that Kingston has it, the reason it's getting exposure is because he has the other title. You know
who knows how to make a title prominent and shiny? Our good old British former champion, Saraya. She knows how to shine a title up real good.
Well,
all organic.
All organic.
So, in talking about this, you had both titles on the line for the women. Both women's titles did change. You had Toni Storm, who's had it now. This is her third time.
Yep.
It's smart because of the fact that this is a character, and we can see, are they going to be able to develop this character and keep it interesting and keep it going, and have feuds with legitimate contenders to make the title
2 title defenses. Valuable. I'll give her 2 title defenses, and then they'll pull the plug on it.
Why?
It depends whose hometown they're in. Because that always seems to kind of happen with Tony. But
I prefer that to the alternative, though, where if they were playing, if they were running a show in someone's hometown, you knew they were going to lose. Yep. So, I personally prefer, somebody winning in their hometown as opposed to.
Can we assume that Britt Baker is
going to lose?
Can we assume that Britt Baker has legitimately gone back to her dental practice for a while and recouping and getting plastic
God only
surgery?
knows. God only knows, man.
She's the devil. We all know that.
I'm telling you, man, that should be the direction that they go, but they won't.
Britt Baker is the devil?
Yes.
Travis brings up a great point here. With WWE having a strong female Japanese faction, I'm surprised Shida lost her AEW title. That's a great point. Considering it seemed like Shida got the title because the WWE put the title on a Japanese wrestler. So
Shida was boring this time around, though. This title reign was a very boring one.
Well, but it also came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I think the thing to keep in mind with Shida is that she's just going to be a transitional champion whenever random shit happens, or they need
when
to
she was
correct,
feuding a year and a half ago, she was great. When she came out, I was excited for Shida. When she came out with the anime gear and all that jazz, I liked her. I really did.
Yeah.
When her fights with Abaddon were great, and her reactions to everything Abaddon was doing were great. When Shida was losing her mind because Toni Storm was going all black and white, I'm like, why is she this angry at someone who's mildly obnoxious? Like, the person's not interrupting your matches. They're not slapping you, and they're not, and you're like over the top dramatically, like, oh, you Hollywood 20s star, I'll get you. I was like, well, what is this? She doesn't even know how to react. It was a really bad booking.
Well, and unfortunately too, that also comes down to producing, and you can see that with the it's some of the production in terms of what they're doing is decent, all right, but you also have stuff that seems to just kind of go astray or go on a little too long. It's not as polished as it could be, because they still are learning how to do that. And I think that again, you had Sheeta go into this feud really quick, which it just seems like she had the belt. Now let's push it back onto Tony because Tony has a character.
But
And
my thing was with all of that was you find there was matches leading up to it that got Tony into the number one contender spot. However, the fact that they went from, okay, she's the number one contender to we're having a blood feud now over the fact that she's obnoxious and
right,
cutting weird commercial breaks was really out of nowhere.
because
Like,
they didn't have anything. That's
yeah.
the problem. So you find something. Travis chimes in here. If Sheeta was boring, what's going to change now that Tony is champ? Tony versus Paige or Soho doesn't excite anyone. Who does Tony Storm
Britt
really have to work
Baker.
with?
If they drag Britt Baker out of the dental chair and get her, because she would know what to do with that. She would be able to, she would have the verbal chops to be able to counteract whatever comes out of Tony Storm's mouth. And you could do a rubber match and have a 2 out of 3 on that one. It would be great.
I'm going to go in a completely different direction. I think that we could actually reason to see the return of Thunder Rosa possibly. I mean, realistically, Britt's out of the picture. You know that their issues are well documented. When will Tony Khan actually bring her back to an in-ring capacity?
We need Rebel.
Ultimately, I think Travis hit the nail on the head, though. The same people that are just being trotted out there week after week after week, they're all defeated. They're all beaten. There's definitely a division line, and it's very difficult to see anybody as being a credible challenger right now to Tony Storm.
I want to say one other thing. Is it me or did it feel like this week the TBS championship had more relevance behind it?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, because
the match was also better too.
Yeah.
And it had more story to it. That's the thing.
Yep.
There was a build to it. You were telling at least some kind of story. One of the things that they did that wasn't necessarily the smartest is they had Sky Blue eat the pin. Because you got to keep Statlander strong. But why? That's the problem. Oh, because she's going to chase the belt now as, getting her rematch and stuff. But in all honesty, look at Statlander and look at those other two. Statlander looked like a monster. She's just a big woman, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see what is the relevance of having Statlander in that position. Why is she not going against Tony Storm then?
That was something that I was going to mention too, is they could possibly use this as a way to get her away from the TBS title and push her toward the women's world championship.
But the other thing is when she was part of the Best Friends and was the quirky alien and they were milking that. And then when she just became the woman from Long Island who does squats with another person, they put her in a bad place. If she kept milking the alien thing and just kept it vague, she's kind of weird. She's a little mysterious. She gets injured. She comes back. She wins. Now she's just a boring person named Statlander. And that's it. She has a name, and that name doesn't fit her persona right now. Everything about her was she was an alien, and she was befriending these weird, quirky guys. Now you've got Orange Cassidy being serious, and he's doing promos, and he's angry, and I have to win. And I'm like, You figured the recipe is you can't talk, you can't cut good promos. I'm Orange Cassidy and I've got no promo. Good, shut the fuck up.
Well, Travis says here too, Britt will always be the go-to. And with Jade, Bianca, Io, Asuka, Rhea, Stratton, all carrying the WWE product, who does AEW really have? And that really is it. Again,
remember when they brought Taya Valkyrie in for 2 weeks and nobody cheered for her, even in Canada? And she was Taya Valkyrie, but she was a Guerra Loca. So pick a fucking persona, you idiot. You're either some white chick, gringa, or you're a fucking Valkyrie. Pick one and lose 15 pounds too.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, it's very interesting because I think you're seeing in the women's division exactly what they're suffering for, what they're suffering with, and that is that idea of the guys. It doesn't show as much as the women that those signings from the WWE has really kind of infected that division to where they can't figure out how to fucking balance anything. And that's because you have to have Saraya on TV. You have to have Ruby Soho on TV.
But they bombed out rapidly. Like one of my buddies who's a big wrestling fan, he's like, "Where's Yuka Sakazaki? Where is Rio? Where are all these people who were like plucky underdogs and made the matches good?" And there was Yuka, you have Riho and our favorite bikini model and Nyla Rose. Great. That was a match. They built it up. Who was that other one? The one who was she was a black wrestler. I can't remember her name. She was quit a couple of years ago. She had a dental office feud with Britt Baker.
Big Swole.
Big Swole. She was great. She was fucking great.
She
had the Bianca Belair vibe to her.
She also had some backstage issues. So
yeah,
they what the thing is with AEW was when they got out 1 year into their product was good and it was strong and it looked like they had a direction and they had good writing, and then it unraveled rapidly. They did not maintain.
No, because it all coincided with Tony Khan thinking that we are so good, we are going to compete with the WWE, and look at all these guys who are available now.
And the thing that Cody was saying when they started is, we're not here to compete with the WWE. We're going to make a niche market. We'll get in the middle, and then we'll maintain. And they did that for a while, and they were good when they had a consolidated product, and then they exploded, and it's just too watered down now.
Yeah. Let's see. Travis Swole versus Tony Snowman, Tony Khan, a.k.a. on Twitter was feud of the year, which it was pretty fucking awesome. And Javon Claire here says Adam Page match was fucking awesome. Best of the night. It was
awesome.
It was fuck awesome.
Awesome.
It was fuck awesome.
Fuck yeah.
That's one of the things that's interesting here. And I've said it forever, and that is, why bleed on regular TV when you can do something like this that it makes fucking sense? The match was so fucking bloody that the shitty taping ropes that they had, the white ropes are just fucking drenched in blood.
They're blood stained, yeah.
Swerve is a star.
Absolutely.
Adam Page is still just not that next level, right? No. So the fact that Page could go in there, and the question becomes, did Swerve make him look better, or did Page do exactly what he needed to do and make Swerve come off as that next level?
The look on Swerve's face when he was standing upright, barely standing upright, and oh my God, he looks psychotic. That was perfect. Hangman Adam Page did exactly what he needed to do.
Agreed.
You know?
And the literal crimson mask, and of course, cowboy shit became vampire shit as he made sure to get underneath of Swerve as he was bleeding down and allowed Swerve to bleed into his mouth before doing his best Gangrel impersonation.
And everyone was the team all just Nigel was like, oh. I was like,
that's fucking great. Fuck that. That was great.
Which again, it's these are the creative things that work, right?
That's a 10 out of 10, that match.
Yeah, I guess if 10's the scale, I'd go probably 4.5 out of 5, but 10 out of 10. All right.
9 out of 10. But did they miss spots on that? They really didn't miss spots. It was all well done. He tried to fight off the rest of the Mogul Embassy. He did for a minute. Yeah. I don't like how squishy Brian Cage is. Brian Cage is way too fucking squishy to be getting punked out the way he does. I know he's not the greatest in-ring performer as far as on the mic, but he's way too beef to be getting slapped around by scrappier guys like that.
Yeah, and in general, that's I think that whole faction is one of the weirdest put together factions. That's another thing.
Anything to do with Vincent is a weird faction. Anything that Vincent is part of. That he sucks, and they always pair him with shitty people.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. It's when you look at again, I think there was just a fucking too much ridiculousness in terms of the way the championship match was booked together. Okay. First off, MJF being ROH tag champ and being your heavyweight champ makes no fucking sense at all. If you're going to have your heavyweight champ be a tag champ, put the actual tag belts of your company on him, not a fictitious fucking non-televised TV show.
You gave, I'm going to go the opposite. You gave them way too much credit. And any other promotion, if your tag partner is injured, you either get a new permanent tag partner or you relinquish the belts. You don't just have fill-in guys that just keep it afloat.
Fill-in guys? He defended the tag titles by himself on the last
once, and that's ridiculous. Like one time, Braun Strowman tagged with a little kid, and it was a joke, and that was to be a joke when he tagged with a 10-year-old. But then he, that belt was gone like a week later. He of course the straps. This is going on way too long.
And now what you use it? You put your heavyweight champion, who's defending tag titles, with a partner who's not his actual partner, on the pre-show.
Yep.
Then you do an angle where he gets hurt.
Yep. And nobody sees it.
No one
so I'm not emotionally invested in something that I'm going to be recapped on.
Right.
By the way, while you didn't watch a YouTube special, guess what? You're the heavyweight champion of the world. Had his neck snapped. Back to you, Tony. What?
And then that leads to what Travis just said here. Adam Cole is too injured to defend the tag titles, but cleared to defend the world title.
Of course. And that's the great thing. I mentioned the booking logic during Wrestling Talk, and it's just astounding. I mean, there are so many holes in this fucking plot that it's ridiculous.
All you had to do is have him come out and have Jay White go, all right, give me the fucking belt, I won. And then Adam Cole trying to pause it and delay it and delay it and delay it. And then have MJF come in because the ridiculousness of it all, that he was actually even going to be medically cleared to do this. It's beyond kayfabe. I cannot suspend disbelief. All he had to do was stay in there. Maybe he takes a bump. Maybe Jay White pushes him to the floor and he takes a couple of bumps. And then you go, wait a minute, and then the ambulance shows up. You knew you were going to do the ambulance gimmick anyway. Then just have him stall.
Yeah.
And then they could say, hey, we don't know what's going to happen with the status of the belt. Tony Khan hasn't given us a word. Put a question mark over the screen between matches. And then at the end, have the ambulance show up at the last second. And now you can still stay face and everything else could go on as planned.
So, but you don't even have to have them delay in terms of that. You already have a story. So where is Roderick Strong?
Right. Well, I mean, realistically,
oh yeah, that's it. Where were they? Why didn't they show up?
He's injured from the night before, but yeah, I don't understand why they
didn't. He's already playing the neck injured guy. He could have.
I know. No,
where was the whole kingdom?
I totally get it.
Should have came out there for Adam, and they should have been trailing Adam Cole the whole way. Because if Adam Cole's going to take a bullet like that, you would want to have the kingdom come out there, and then they get thrown in the mix with the remaining members. And also, what happened to Juice Robinson? We know he took the TV shot, whatever. What really happens to this guy that they didn't even want to use him at all?
I mean, he may have legitimately had some sort of a conflict where he couldn't make the show, or he may have been injured, something to that effect. But yeah, him getting, the TV thrown at him, that was interesting. And when that happened, I was like, okay, yeah, he'll be at.
It put some shine on MJF.
Yeah,
I loved that for the moment. I was like, okay. And the guns are what the guns are. The guns are henchmen, and that's okay. I always thought that Bullet Club was supposed to be the most elite level wrestlers. Okay.
No, I mean, up until recently.
And then where are the Good Brothers? Because if the Good Brothers aren't going to be used on WWE, wouldn't they try to weasel out of their contracts and get over to AEW where they can fill that role?
Well, they have a good situation, the situation they want it, and that's they're
less impact, more money.
Well, and spending time with their closest friend,
exactly,
traveling together and stuff. The thing here though is, did they just destroy Jay White in a sense? Because Jay White just lost to a guy who had one leg. A perfectly healthy guy lost to a guy who didn't get cleared and was limping around. Good Brothers are working a 6-man with AJ on SmackDown. Yeah, there you go. On top of that, MJF, they do a table spot, and the table breaks.
Yep.
It just collapsed under him.
Yeah, just put the guy on the table, and the table just collapses. Okay.
But he improvised well on that. He took an even harder.
That was
bump.
what I was going to say too. Yeah.
But that goes to beg once again.
How hurt is your leg?
How hurt are you to do that spot and then finish the match?
But here's the thing. This is where I'm going to say this. This is where having a good color commentary team comes into place, because now it falls on their shoulders to frame this in the moment. They had to find a way to frame this, and they're like, yo, he just took a serious bump. He's really hurt. He's having a hard time getting back in the ring, because if that was Jim Ross in his prime, he'd be going, by God, kid, how is he even going to do this? And you'd be getting into it. The only thing I don't like with AEW is that whatever commentators start the show, I want them to be there at the end. I don't want this rotating stuff. I want to hear the same voices, because these are the people that are constantly reestablishing what I've seen throughout the night. And they have rotating guys in and out. And WWE does this here and there, but not to the level that AEW does it. I'm glad that they didn't do Jim Ross. He doesn't have the chops anymore. He doesn't have the mental acuity to be that quick on his feet. Run with these guys. Shivani should not be on color. He's boring as hell.
Correct.
He's just a disgruntled nerd. Nigel McGuinness is good. Nigel McGuinness
awesome.
Is the heel that we needed. He's a royal piece of shit, and I love it. Taz is excellent. He provides the straight-laced commentary. He doesn't get too into it with the heel stuff anymore. And then you've got Excalibur. Those are your three guys. And Excalibur is boring.
Get rid of him. But they won't, because he's a friend, and that's
they're not going to get rid of him.
right. And that's the
You know
reason
who's
that
actually good on commentary? He doesn't have the knowledge of the moves and stuff, but Jericho is actually very entertaining in that capacity. His energy is great.
Good luck getting Chris Jericho to do that.
Yeah. Well, they already brought him in at fair intervals on Rampage and not Collision, but they used him on Rampage, and he's entertaining.
Yep. No, he is, but the problem is that he's still an active guy. My problem is you don't have active guys fucking doing commentary. It makes no sense.
By the way, Road Dogg. It took me a good 45 minutes to figure out that was Road Dogg, and it took me another hour and a half to figure out if I cared. He sucked. He was a filler. He looks like hell. He sounds like hell. You know, his tag team partner looks exactly the same with a receded hairline. Billy Gunn looks like Billy Gunn from back then with a receded hairline. That's about it.
Yeah, well, the difference is Billy Gunn does fucking steroids.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I've met Billy Gunn. I've never seen steroids in person. Jesus Christ, that's frightening.
Right.
The whole body's just pulsating and sweating, and veins are just moving like a fucking... You ever see Futurama when they're going through the test tubes and they're just... That's what it looks like, and you're just like, oh my God. This doesn't look real.
So overall, again, the reaction, I think, from, and again, it's very interesting because I think that you had a pay-per-view that should have in some ways been stronger. Yeah, and this is true too. Billy Gunn works once a week. Road Dogg is a producer for 5 hours of live
Yeah,
TV.
but Road Dogg also looks like he needs to try some fucking diet pills or something. Billy Gunn is...
Yeah, but Road Dogg doesn't have to. That's the whole point.
But my thing is like this. Usually, like Lex Luthor by this point was dying in a room with Miss Elizabeth. I mean, this guy found a way to keep those drugs working for him. I don't know what he's doing, but I mean, when that shit ends, it's going to end hard. But right now, I mean, fuck it.
Well, I don't know. Being such, I don't know if anything's going to be hard with Mr. Gunn.
He's not part of the Bang Bang Gang because he can't bang.
But you had a pay-per-view that I think the AEW fan base enjoyed.
Absolutely.
I think you're going to get a lot of garnered attention on the Texas Death Match. I think that you're going to get overhype from Alvarez and Meltzer, in terms of pushing things a little too far in terms of how great this was. Because realistically, if you look at it, the middle of the show was the strongest point. That was where you had some of your best storytelling and some of your best matches.
The MJF match, for the holes that it had, though, the idea was to make this guy the most syrupy baby face coming out of every pore, and that was a mission accomplished. Adam Cole, the crying friend, like, he looked like, if this was Rocky and Adam Cole was Adrian, like MJF. Adam! MJF! Adam! And that's what they were going for. It worked. Were there mega holes on how they got there? Sure. Could I give that match an 8 out of 10? Yeah, because the execution was there. And again, fucking A, Maxwell Jacob Friedman thought on his feet and worked with what he had. Yeah, I got a bum leg. I'm going to jump right onto a hard floor, and I'm going to limp my ass back in the ring, and who knows? That makes him a very good guy. He's wearing that jacket, though, that says 2024, so we know he wants out. So I would say sometime by middle of next year, he's going to leave. he'll be gone. I don't know when his contract runs out, but he'll drop the belt.
Well, and here's a great point Travis makes. AEW won't pull over 880,000 this week. So we're back to the starting point. Good pay-per-view doesn't pull eyes to their product, which is something they've been fighting. The other thing is when you think about it, and this is this is something that is unfortunate. It's they don't necessarily always build to the pay-per-view. It just kind of gets put together, and there's this weird feel to that. In terms of, if you look at some of the stuff, like you get some setup, you get a couple weeks setup, you get this or that. But Tony was more interested in the fact that, holy shit, Wembley tickets are going to be going on sale.
I was just about to say, like, why are you overhyping something 9 months, 10 months out of the road? But also think about this. On the Dynamite before your pay-per-view, you did basically a watered-down stadium stampede leading to a boring tag match.
Yep.
So you kind of buried the lead. You should have, and that was the thing. And it's not that the match was necessarily bad, that their video game match. But if this is a video game and you're trying to push the hell out of it, why would you not save that for the pay-per-view if the whole point is a video game? And if you're gonna have two people dress up like Yakuzas from Kill Bill, then why aren't they all doing that? It was very odd and confused, and I know why they did that. They wanted Paul White to look decent, and he did not look decent in the getup he had.
Nope.
No.
So Jericho did him a solid, and Jericho was his Depends, which is exactly what that was. It was, how do we not make this guy look completely embarrassing? And then we're going to embarrass him anyway by just unceremoniously dumping him on the hood of a Stanza or a Sonata. What was that, a Hyundai Sonata?
Yeah.
What's with their obsession with Hyundai?
Right on his fucking head.
And then we never see him again. It's not even like we go, hey, Paul, you won. We'll do like Rocky.
And the thing that I'll say is, obviously that video game tie-in is obviously
Lost.
It's not the first time. Well, it's not the first time that they've done it.
It was vague. I still didn't know a video game after all of that.
Right. I can definitely say that I prefer that video game match as opposed to the one that they had for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was complete wrestle crap. That was an abomination. So I definitely prefer this one. And according to what Tony said in the media scrum, they were paid very, very well for endorsing that game. So I guess money talks,
And that's why they're pushing the video game that's not their own.
But they didn't even endorse it all that well, because I was still confused as to what the fuck the game was about. Like, even WWE would do a 5-minute long commercial afterwards, so there was no question that you knew what you were watching and what you should be buying and how to get it. I didn't get any of that. This was vague as hell, and they gave you one day. They kind of, here you go, video game.
Yeah. Final thing that I want to touch on is something that, Steve, you were excited about in Wrestling Talk, and that is Will Ospreay being this huge signing. Now, here's the thing.
Don't worry about it. You just got to wait. I still got 5 months left of my other contract.
So that's the first thing. Here is a signing of a guy who they signed but won't be there for 5 months, which is essentially putting the Wembley tickets on sale all these months in advance. Big, announcement again. The thing is that for AEW fans, great, right? You know them, you like them. That makes sense. But the question is, it's not Ronda Rousey. It's not, Mercedes. It's not someone who had that, even Edge, right? Who had that appeal to potentially bring eyes in from knowing about this person, not the wrestling fan, but the fan in general. And Travis makes a good point, signing a guy who works for them anyways all the time.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It's not
Yeah.
a surprise. I'm here
Right.
all the time now. Well, lovely.
So the question then becomes, is they and Travis makes a good point here too. They don't need a Ronda or Mercedes. They need a Logan Paul or Bad Bunny, which is absolutely the point. The point is that mainstream attention would potentially build the brand to a larger base, not just the wrestling audience. Even if Will Ospreay puts on some of the best matches, and look, Jay White's a great wrestler, but we just saw what they did with Jay White after this, this big buildup of a feud. To have him lose, what do you do with the guy then from that point forward? Same when they bring these guys in and they lose to the championship match within 6 weeks of getting there. So what do you do with Ospreay to make him come off as that big of a signing when he finally gets there?
He wins the world title at Wembley. His entire run should be built around getting to Wembley, winning the world title there.
Okay, so then the question becomes, and timing wise, that should work, I think, right? So the question becomes then,
Revolution's typically beginning of March, so
right. So the question becomes, does that coincide with MJF and his contract coming up? Because that's fairly close, right? The question is, does MJF still have the title? Is he the one who drops it?
I don't think so.
Who would he drop it to in the meantime?
Adam Cole. Adam Cole wins the title and then loses the belt to Ospreay.
How injured is Adam Cole really?
Genuinely, I could see the unveiling happening at World's End, December 30th. And the reason being is, quite frankly, you're in MJF's backyard. You're going to get the reactions that you're wanting to get. You're going to get heavy heat on Samoa Joe because that's who he's going to be facing for the title. So you're going to get, obviously, heavy cheers for MJF. And then after the match, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if MJF gets jumped. We find out who the devil is, take it in whatever direction that you want to go. But you can easily, especially if it's in MJF's backyard, you'll be able to get the heel reaction that you want to get for Adam Cole as being the main antagonist.
So could you have it then really far off? Go, okay, and now he's healed up a little bit, and go, Adam Cole was the devil all along. It was a fake injury, and Riley is the other devil henchman, and so is Bobby Fish.
I mean, realistically, you could even just have it be Roddy and the Kingdom, and then you could also have Kyle O'Reilly.
That makes more sense.
Bobby Fish does not.
Bobby Fish is not going to be back in AEW
anytime soon because
no.
He was fairly honest about his experience with how fucking disconnected.
Where is he even wrestling now?
Nowhere.
He's not.
He was on TNA for like 3 weeks.
Where's the lie?
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the Will Ospreay thing. So the fact is that they're getting somebody at the age of 30 who is bell to bell in ring, the best professional wrestler in the world, bar none today. I think that, as I alluded to in Wrestling Talk, if Will Ospreay's contract would have had 3 different letters attached to it that they would be celebrating this guy like as if he was the greatest signing of all time. You would have certain people who are saying, "Oh, well, this is mediocre signing. This is lame. This guy doesn't have mainstream crossover capability." Those same people, if Will Ospreay would have signed with WWE, everybody knows the exact opposite demeanor would be dealt out. Those same people would be going ape shit, treating Will Ospreay like as if he was the second coming.
When they brought in Jade Cargill, they were smart in putting her on the throne, and they showed lots of pictures of her. The only thing that they did to connect her with the audience who probably doesn't know her from AEW was they had her walk over to Charlotte Flair, and Charlotte Flair goes, "Oh, shit, it's you." And they had her walk over to Becky Lynch, and she got the same reaction. Otherwise, she would have been the Frankie Monet angle, because if we're thinking that wrestling fans are savvier, everyone should have said, "Taya, Valkyrie," and there was none of that to what Matt has said in the past. So if he goes over to WWE, he's going to be another face in the crowd until he has a banger or a match or two. Same thing with MJF. MJF has catchphrases for days. He owns his name. He could go in there and start at the beginning. They'll put him in NXT. He'll go, "I'm MJF and I'm better than you and you know it." And he'll get up within a year and a half. I don't doubt that. But even if he goes over to WWE, he's not going to be famous out of the gate. He's going to have to scratch all the way from the bottom again. I think if you put Ospreay over there, he's not going to get that much heat. Now, Kenny Omega, on the other hand, if you were to put him in WWE, I think he's a household wrestling name. Kenny Omega would be the only exception I would make to that rule.
It comes down to this, though. I think with Ospreay, this is the truth. And that is, look at Shinsuke. Shinsuke is essentially Will Ospreay for what the WWE had at that time, right? They took a guy who is arguably one of the best. They put him down in NXT. He did great. They brought him up, and everyone's, always thought that they've fucked him over or he's been mediocre because he's just never gotten that full push. I think the problem is Ospreay goes into the WWE, he becomes mid-carder. Ospreay goes into AEW, he should be a main eventer because he fits exactly what AEW is.
And Shinsuke does not do the full repertoire of his moves, because when he first got over there, he was in NJPW, they'll do like 4 finishers in 1 minute. They'll do bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
And that's how he was wrestling. If you notice, it wasn't just a couple of kicks in the Kinshasa. He was doing a lot of combination moves, Shinsuke Nakamura, and then he stopped. And now he's just doing evade, 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 punch, punch, kick, kick. Kinshasa, you win.
The other thing that I think we have to at least put out there is there's one major elephant in the room difference between Will Ospreay and Shinsuke Nakamura, and that is your language barrier. So obviously that's something to keep in mind. I'm not going to say that, the reason why it's taken Shinsuke so long to be featured more prominently or whatever is based solely off of that. But again, due to previous regimes, due to people prioritizing certain things and deprioritizing certain things, Nakamura didn't realize his full success until very recently. And coincidentally, it just so happened to be after a regime change.
Yeah, but at the same time, Will Ospreay is also not the most charismatic guy. I mean, I
even said enough for what he does, and for the British usually being dry. I think he's fairly charismatic.
But you said it, Steve. In ring, he's great. So again, I think in the WWE, he's not. He's just not fitting in there the same way.
WWE, you have to have promos as well as in ring. That's
wrestling versus sports entertainment, like we've been saying.
Travis says Nakamura is more understandable than Will.
I like the way they were doing those Nakamura promos the first time they did the subtext, and now it's coming off as really corny now.
And this is, Travis made a good point too. Will is charismatic for AEW, but not for the WWE audience. You know, and it's interesting too because again, if you look at it and you go, boy, if AEW had that one guy like a Logan Paul, which why haven't they gone over after Jake Paul? Why not?
That
Fucking
could be
Tony's-
funny.
You know those guys will fucking take any type of money that Tony
Oh,
has
yeah.
to throw at them. So why?
Oh, by the way, when is Dolph Ziggler coming to AEW? I'm assuming he will be.
He was backstage at Full Gear. There was a photo that saw the light of day today that's got him in it, and yeah,
He'll tag
it's
with his
very
brother,
interesting.
obviously.
Yeah, he's there with his brother, and it's just a matter of time until that contract ends, or
The
no
Nemeth
compete,
brothers.
the no compete ends.
Yeah. And I think he's into like a month and a half or so.
Yeah.
So that's in
All right.
time for World's End.
Yeah. So that's
I like how you yawned at the thought of that. Oh, the Nemeth brothers. Yeah, they suck.
Yeah.
Get Vicky Guerrero to represent them. Wait a minute.
Excuse me. Hey, by the way, if you're talking about a transitional champion, Naya is probably
Oh,
Nyla Rose is
Well played.
I see what you did there.
So anyway, all right, now let's wrap it up here. Everyone, thank you for tuning in.
Well, that's what she did. She wrapped it up.
We're just gonna tuck it in for the night and call it a day.
Boatloads.
We will take our grapefruits and go home, and we will see you guys later, everyone. As DJ Impact will say, happy wrestling.